guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to do another tag video because I recently saw this tag on a German booktube channel called Bookaholic Group. They're linked down below if you want to check them out. But they uploaded a tag about like opposites. I'm not sure if hers is the original or if there has been a tag like this before, but I thought these questions were really fun. And I really want to talk about more books that I just never talk about that I've read like years ago. And yeah, I think this should be really fun, so I translated the questions and yeah, let's get into them now. So the first one is, what is the first and the last book you hauled this year? Thankfully, I read that all down in my reading journal, so I knew exactly what book I hauled first, and that was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is also on my 21 books to read in 2021 list. I haven't started it yet, but I'm planning to at some point. All I really know about this one is that it's kind of sci-fi, but it also has some fantasy elements, and it features clairvoyance, but they're not really allowed to exist, I think. I think it's also kind of dystopian, but you can already hear that I have no clue really what this book is about, so I just need to read it. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into it at some point. And the last book I hauled was one that came in the Illumicrate box for March, and that was The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is what it looks like. It has red sprayed edges, and I really have no idea what this is about, so let me read the synopsis really quick. An unmissable epic fantasy debut of uprising, espionage, and empire. So that already sounds very intriguing, and I know some people are really excited about this. Okay, it doesn't really tell us too much, but it sounds intriguing. I'm always interested in epic fantasies, but I think I'm just going to wait until the reviews come in before I pick this one up. So yeah, this is the latest book I got. The second question is, what is the cheapest and the most expensive book on your bookshelves? I buy a lot of books used, so a lot of them were quite cheap, but I really don't remember how much I really paid for them. But I do have some classics that were really cheap, even when they're new. And I think the cheapest one is called Lenz and Hessischer Landbote by Georg Büchner. This is tiny, as you can see, and it only cost me €1.30. So I believe this is the cheapest book on my bookshelves. And then the most expensive book in terms of value probably is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, because this is actually the first edition with the blue sprayed edges. This is definitely not the book that I paid the most for, because I actually ordered this like a year or two ago, like on a used bookstore website, and I was super excited because the hardcover from the UK in general is very hard to get. So I was really excited when I found this for 15 bucks on there, but it turned out to be the first edition, which is pretty valuable. So this is probably the most expensive book in terms of value on my shelves. By the way, a really good book. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you love whimsical writing styles and whimsical stories in general. But in terms of what book I'm paid the most for, I think the most expensive book was Emma by Jane Austen. This is actually like a special edition in German with items like letters that, you know, go with the story and illustrations. Oh my god. Scheiße. This was not a good idea. But as you can see, we have like newspaper articles, letters, and more things. I don't know where they go now, but it's fine. And in Germany, if you buy a book from a German publisher, there's this rule that you cannot, you know, apply any discount codes on it, so it always has the same price, and the price for this one is €34, so that's kind of a lot. But I think, yeah, I definitely bought this used. I don't know how much I paid for this, a little bit less, but still I think this would be the most expensive book. I still haven't read any of these special editions yet, and I really want to, but I just cannot find the time to. But one day it's going to happen, I promise. The next question is, can you find a book with a female protagonist and a male protagonist? So basically my whole bookshelf consists of female protagonists. So I think I'm just going to go with The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I don't have The Poppy War right here because I'm currently reading that one, but the protagonist is Rin, and this is kind of inspired by Chinese history and mythology, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I haven't read too much of it, but so far I'm really loving it. And for a male protagonist, I think I'm just going to go with A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. I do have a couple of others here, but this is the one that popped into my mind immediately. But the protagonist of this one is obviously Kel. I've read this book twice now, but I still think I need a reread. I'm not sure when this is going to happen, but I need to at some point continue on with the series, so yeah. I liked it the 2 times that I read it, but I didn't love it. We'll see if that changes. The next prompt is a book you read very quickly and a book that took you a little bit longer to finish. So for a book that I read really quickly, I could obviously go with a graphic novel, but if I'm counting only like novels, I think I'm going to go with It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. This is a nonfiction. It has around 300 pages. I read this last year for Becca's Bookopoly, like the 48-hour readathon version, and I read this super quickly. I was so invested in the story and I loved it, and this was also my favorite book of last year, so I would definitely recommend you this one. And a book that took me longer to finish is actually one that took me the longest ever, almost half a year, but it's still one of my absolute favorite books. So I don't know how this happened. I think it was just because I wasn't really in a reading mood all the time, and just in general I wasn't reading like every single day. I was only reading when I was really like in a reading mood, but I still love the book, so yeah. And it is Clockwork Prince. Actually, I looked it up in Goodreads and I started this one on the 31st of January 2019 and I finished it on the 2nd of June 2019. So almost half a year. Usually that's not a good sign if it takes me like super long. Actually with me, no, really no. But yeah, I just really love the book, and back then I just didn't read as much physically. And it's one of my all-time favorite series, and I cannot wait to get to Chain of Gold. The next prompt is the most beautiful and the ugliest cover on your bookshelves. I think it comes as no surprise that Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, the Fairyloot edition, is my favorite cover on my bookshelf. If you know me very well, you know that I'm obsessed with foiled covers and stenciled edges. This book is just perfection to me by the cover, and I just talked about it. I'm really excited to get to it. And for ugliest cover on my bookshelves, I don't really have like covers that are absolutely hideous, but I have some that I don't have on my bookshelves because they're not as aesthetically pleasing. They're on my TBR card, and this is this series by a German author, and I really hate when they're like really bright colors but all different colors. I think it looks super childish. Yeah, I don't like it. And also the illustrations are quite juvenile, I would say. It's just not my kind of taste, so that's why they're on my TBR card. But I did actually really love these books. They're time travel books and I had a good time reading these. The next question is, what is the shortest and the biggest book on your bookshelves? This time I excluded my classics and only took the books that are on my actual bookshelves, and I think this is my shortest book. We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I read this in 2019, I believe. But yeah, I really enjoyed it at the time. As you can see, I have a couple of tabs as well. It's really about like basic feminism and like mostly for people are just starting to get into it, I would say. But yeah, I think this has like around 50 pages, so I think this is the shortest book I have. And then the biggest book by far, I actually didn't think about this one, but it's by far the biggest book on my bookshelves, and it is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. Like, I know it is big, but I didn't know it was like 1200 pages. Yeah, this is an absolute weapon of a book, It is really heavy, but I'm still looking forward to reading it. And then the last prompt is a book you liked and a book you disliked. And for this one, I wanted to go back into the archives. When I first started to get into booktube and watching booktube videos, and one that was super popular when I first started watching booktube in like 2018, I want to say, was The Wrath and the Dawn, and I eventually picked it up and read it, and I really hated it. I thought it was quite boring, like nothing happened, and it was also kind of morally questionable. From what I remember, it is about this guy, I think he's like, I don't know how the actual word is, but he's like prince, and he kills a woman every single night. The protagonist has a friend who got killed by him, and she basically wants to go there and full kind of like a revenge story, but yeah. I think it's not a spoiler, it's kind of expected that there is a romance, which is kind of questionable, and also the explanation to why he always kills these women was really questionable. So I just don't really like that book, and I don't really get the hype behind it. And now to a book I really liked back in 2018 was actually Aristotle and Dante Discovered the Secrets of the Universe. You probably know that this is contemporary, and also back then I didn't care for contemporary. Right now I don't care for contemporary, but this one was really, really good. It's really hard to explain it. Also, my memory is kind of blurry when it comes to this book, but mainly it's about the two protagonists and their relationship with each other. And especially Aristotle was really relatable to me at the time. From what I remember, Aristotle especially is very like socially awkward or also socially anxious, and I can definitely relate to that. So I just really loved reading about that experience, and it's just the whole vibe of the book. Like the way it's written, it feels like a poem. Yeah, I just loved it, so would definitely recommend this to you if you haven't checked it out yet. There's actually another book by this author coming out very soon, so I'm very excited for that as well. So yeah, these are the questions or prompts of this tag. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you recreate it and tag me in it or send it to me. I definitely enjoyed talking about like books that I read a really long time ago, or just in general books that I don't really typically talk about on my channel. And I hope you enjoyed it too. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.